Okay, Shalom Akim, Kahalayim La Yahabashim Yashabashim Hakudash. And double honors to the graves and apostles, Thadi Ashab, for the strength and all to make this video. And Yaratazar, you find it edifying and exhorting. Edifying meaning to build up, and exhort meaning to encourage as well. But as I named it, or as I will name it, MOTB update, or something along the lines of a more understanding on the MOTB. Because this came out a few weeks ago, just an update on the Neuralink implant that they're creating. And of course, this is the major thing that we're also watching out for. Of course, you got the other prophecies as well, World War III. Of course, the things that pertain to the downfall of Babylon and Esau's kingdom. We're watching out for this, but this is a major one of which, we ought to also pay attention to. Because this is the thing, this will be the determinant of whether Yahweh Shimi Ashai accepts you or not. That's the thing. This is when the line is drawn. There'll be no more gray zone, man. You're gonna have to you're gonna have to choose a side, as they say. Either you choose the side of Yahweh Shimi Ashai and obey Yahweh Shimi Ashai, or you obey Esau Edom. Just those who obey Esau Edom, they'll be punished severely. That's why we pray to Yahweh Shimi Ashai for mercy. But anyways, Yara Tazama play key parts of this update here. It's on the official YouTube channel of Elon Musk's company, because he's the one behind the company called Neuralink, and that's the YouTube channel right there. Uploaded 3rd December, so this month. Let me play the video, and Yara Tazama bring out some presets as well.
So our first product is called telepathy, and it basically allows people with spinal cord injury or ALS, or people that are quadriplegic, which means they're paralyzed from neck down, be able to control digital devices like computers or phones or whatever just by thinking. And it's making real impact in people's lives. And in this particular case, this is one of our participants. We call him P1 because he was first participant playing Civilization 6. And he mentioned that it's the day after he got telepathy, he was playing Civilization for 9 hours straight.
And telepathy as either one of the programs or one of the names for the for the chips that they're producing. I perceive that's one of the programs within it, because of course certain implants will be specialized for certain things. Just based on this video, if you watch the whole thing. Yara Tazar, I'll link the video anyways in the description.
Also can extend beyond just digital control to robotic arm. So this is one of our participants drawing this amazing thing with a robot arm after getting trained to use it for about an hour.
And these are those miracles of which Esau Edom will use in order to deceive, the whole world, especially Israel. 2/3 are going to fall for it. But really anyone of whom doesn't have the knowledge of Yahweh Shimi Ashai, who does have the protection, Harcha Kodash, which means the Holy Spirit of Yahweh Shimi Ashai upon them, they'll be exposed and they'll be vulnerable to Esau's manipulation, to accept this technology, which will be the downfall of really any Israelite who tries to support Esau in this.
Telepathy also works for people with neurodegenerative conditions, such as ALS, this, similar to what Stephen Hawking's had. And this is one of our late-stage ALS participant with 3 kids. So he can only move his eyes. So he interacts with the world previously with an eye gaze system that doesn't work outdoor. Neuralink doesn't have that problem. So this is him being able to go outside with his family, play games, and then also have their kids actually hear dad's voice for the first time. So as of September, we're currently changing lives of 12 people in the world. As of last week, that number is 13. And the interesting number that I will just quote in this is we have to go outside with his family, play games, and then also have their kids actually hear dad's voice for the first time. So So as of September, we're currently changing lives of 12 people in the world. As of last week, that number is 13. And the interesting number that I'll just quote in this is that on average, people are using Neuralink about 8 hours a day.
This is going to be like a regular thing, man. It's going to be a regular thing for just like, people lining up for, the latest iPhone or the latest gadget, whether it be in the gaming world, the latest laptop or something, gaming computer, console. It'll be like lining up for that. Or really, even more, a better comparison would be like the time of, what's it called? The time during during that demic, I'm going to use the nickname now, the demic, 2020, 2021, 2022, where you had to line up to go get the juice, man, or to get tested. That, cotton swab looking thing. Anyways, let me get the preset first, then we're going to get rolling. So Revelation 13 and 16, which is really the prophecy that's focused upon here based on this video. Revelation 13 and 16, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, which is really Esau, Edom. He's that man. Free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. Of course, aka the wicked. They're the ones who are going to pretty much put people in a position where it would seem as though there's no choice. But that's only an illusion to those of whom don't have the knowledge and the understanding of the scriptures. Because we know that we have Yahweh Shem Yahshai who will defend us in that time. Anyone else of the world, they'll be limited in their thinking. Before I continue on with that, I'm just going to support that with this here, because Yahshai did say, he's going to support us, man. All right, hold on. So Revelation 3 and 10, it says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, you endured to the end, really, you kept, doing this work, not just being a hearer, but also praying to Yahweh Shem Yahshai, you maintain faith. These are examples of keeping the word of Yahweh's patience, Yahweh Shem Yahshai's patience. It says, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation. That hour of temptation is when people are going to start getting weak, because the fact that they think they'll be under the illusion of needing the MOTB, because of course their human needs would cause them to do so. And when I say human needs, I'm talking about hunger, emotional responses from individuals around them. That's aka family. Of course, if you do live with them, even if you don't live with them, you'll probably be receiving calls from them. What are we gonna do? Imagine family members coming to you when they don't normally come to you for advice. That's gonna be a fearful time for them, man. Because whoever's most stable in the spirit, which is really those of us who have the spirit, the knowledge and the spirit, Harchak Kudash, of Yahweh Shem Yahshai, we're the ones who will be the most stable. Again, as the scripture says in Isaiah 33, I believe verse 6. Wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times. Before I get that, so Revelation 3 and verse 10 again says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation. And we have full faith in that, man. Yahweh Shem Yahshai will preserve us, in that time, because he first of all, again, all is according to the will of Yahweh. That's why we pray for his grace and his mercy, so that in that time we are kept in it, so that we can keep doing these works until, of course, the famine of the word, and we keep the word of his patience. We maintain faith up to the point where Yahweh will also preserve us from this MOTB coming upon the people, the hour of temptation. It says, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth, man. And especially Israel's going to be tried. I'm talking about you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. That's why 2/3, they're the ones who are going to, essentially, it's a sellout. It's like a major sellout. That's what it really is. Because them rejecting it, well, not as if they were worshipping Yahweh Shem Yahshai in the first place, but really that's like the ultimate, okay, so now you ain't even considering Yahweh Shem Yahshai, once you side with Esau Edom by taking his mark. It says in verse 11, Revelation 3 and 11, behold, I come quickly, hold that fast which thou hast, that no man take thy crown. You know, so that's the key point right there, man. Hold that fast which thou hast, you know, that no man take thy crown. Because literally, in that time where Yahushua preserves us in this hour of temptation, you know, we're closer than ever, Yara to Zah, you know, to the kingdom, you know, the kingdom of Israel, the kingdom of Yahushua, to the crowning ceremony, especially. You know when you probably might hear in these motivational speeches from, you know, athletes as well, where you already see the accomplishment of the vision prior to it actually happening physically, man. And it's the same thing with us, man. You know, we strive for that incorruptible crown, you know, not the corruptible ones as they do. So really, you know, as I believe Apostle Gabar did make a few videos based on it, you know, some months back. You know, you gotta be as a visionary in this truth, man. So that's why Yahushua said in verse 11, behold, I come quickly, hold that fast which thou hast. You gotta believe you already have it. You know, that no man take that crown. And really a good sign of that is really Yahushua unlocking your mind to be able to understand this truth. Anyways, let's get this precept again, then I'll probably move back to the video after I read Revelation 13 verse 16 again. Alright, let's check it out. So Isaiah 33 and 6, and wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times and the strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushua is his name. And by the way, you know, L-O-R-D, you know, in capitals does refer to Yahweh, but we say Bahashem Yahushua, you know, at times as well, because, you know, it's through Yahushua. That's how we get the grace and the mercy of Yahweh. So yeah, so through the fear of the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yahushua is his treasure, man. But the point is the wisdom and knowledge. And that's really talking about these scriptures that we attain to. The knowledge of the scriptures, wisdom, which is really applying it, you know, will make us to be stable in our minds, in our spirits, you know, in these times where people are going to be trembling. You know, we're going to have a very calm, which really calmness is just, it's like a reflection of a high level of faith in that time. You know, so that's something to really what's the way of saying it? Well, that's the way the elect are going to be, and Yara Tazar, that we are those men as we do these works. You know, we're going to be very, very calm because of the wisdom and knowledge Yahushua has given us and unlocked our minds for. All right, so Revelation 13 verse 16 again to 18. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. And that's a true indicator of that MOTB, because people have always had multiple suggestions of what the MOTB, but yet you can still buy and sell in multiple ways. You know, you can use card, you can still use cash, you know, you can use your mobile phone. You know, even nowadays you can use crypto. So these are multiple ways. But in that time, Esau's going to say, you ain't going to be able to take part of any commerce or any business deals or any type of work, you know, to receive income or to pay bills unless a person has that implant. You know, so that's a major indicator, man. So yeah, verse 18, here is wisdom, let him that hath understanding. Yeah, just hold on, okay. Right. You know, let me read this again. So here, Revelation 13 and 18. Here is wisdom, let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for is the number of a man, and his number 666. And Esau loves to flex that that number 6, man, in terms of his symbolism on the left hand side as well. Which you know, that man is really representing Esau, Edom, you know, the adversary. You know, so that's the point right there, man. I'm gonna get back to the video, and yeah, man, let's get to it.
Okay, so what's next? One is scaling. So this number, 10,000, I look at this every day. This is how many people we have on the waiting list for telepathy. 12.
So that's the number of people that are willing, before this thing becomes mainstream. When I say this implant becomes mainstream, I'm talking about when Esau said, all right, you ain't gonna be able to partake in society unless you get. That's really when it becomes mainstream. Right now, it's still like it's out there, but it's not like it's not in front of everyone's faces. A good amount of people know about it, but it's not in front of everyone's faces in terms of, okay, even the lowest of the laymen would know about this. But anyways, so yeah, that's 10,000 people, man. That's going to increase as we get closer to these times as well. When Esau says, all right, you can't partake in society unless you got that implant.
Or 13 is really great, but that's significantly less than 10,000. So there's a lot of challenges, as you can imagine, in scaling both the device manufacturing, deployment, and patient sort of service. So there's a lot of challenges associated with that. The second set of challenges really involve around expanding our indications. So as of right now, we're focusing on movement, being able to use control, computer cursor, and robot arm, like you said, but people, they also don't have tactile sensation back, so being able to feel again. We're also launching a program to enable someone who lost their voice talk again, hear again, and see again with blind sight. And this is all ultimately towards what we call building a whole brain interface, which basically means reading and writing from any part of the brain. As you can imagine, there's huge clinical implications to this, not only addressing some of the things that I mentioned, but even some of the really deep psychiatric or neurological disorders, anything that you can really think of. Those are all spikes in your brain.
All right, so they'll pretty much, as it says in motor cortex, speech cortex, visual cortex, whole brain. So these are really targeted towards those individuals of which those specific parts of the brains are impaired, man, whether it's by birth or some kind of an accident. Esau used that as a selling point. Then post that, it'll be a case of convenience, especially to the young individuals. And then eventually, it's going to find a way to really tempt. That's why Yahushua called it, in the scriptures, John the Revelator writing that, the hour of temptation, man. That period of time of temptation, which of course it doesn't mean it will specifically be an hour, man. But really, you can liken it as onto an actual hour of temptation, because that'll be a time where people, of course, those who aren't rooted within the scriptures, they're going to be saying, what if that happens? What if this happens? And then they'll be back and forth in their minds, thinking in a double-minded way, not making the decision, as they go and take that down the route of their downfall, man, especially Jake. So that's really going to be an hour of temptation, but it's going to be a period of time, that hour of temptation symbolically, where Esau's going to put that out. And then really that's the ultimate examination of faith. You're going to believe in Yahweh Shem Yahushua feeding you, protecting you, against Esau Edom, or are you going to fall for, his vain tactics, man, his vanities, which really is a vanity, because, that MOTB, all it really leads to is just destruction. At the end of the day, everlasting shame will be the result in the kingdom for those reborn. And that's Daniel 12 and verse 2, I believe. Alright, Daniel 12 and verse 2. Yeah, so Daniel 12 and verse 2, it says, and many of them in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, those who stood stiffly for the word of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, and some to shame and everlasting contempt, those who didn't stand strong for Yahweh Shem Yahushua, who rejected the words of the prophets, which really the words of the prophets are the words of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. So that's why I called it a vanity for taking the MOTB. That's why we pray, so that we have strength in that time to, as Yahushua has promised, man, to resist that MOTB, that implant.
As you can imagine, there's...
Oh yeah, and one more thing as well. Hold on, let me rewind it.
we're also launching a program to enable someone who lost their voice talk again, hear again, and see again with blindness.
Yeah, so of course you can see that there's multiple chips for different areas of the brain. Multiple. And of course, if you look over here, hold on. See if I can zoom in again. No, that should be good. There's different areas of the brain, man. You got the frontal region, parietal, temporal, brainstem, cerebellum, and occipital. As a frontal here, because scriptures talk about, the MOTB being in the forehead, that's like the main part of the brain, you could say, which is the front part of the brain. It says located at the forehead, really. So, but it will be multiple regions of the brain, as you saw from the video just now. So the frontal part responsible for personality, emotions, so that top left box there. Personality, emotions, arousal, intelligence, ability to concentrate, make decisions, plan, put things in order, solve problems, awareness of what is around you, voluntary movement, ability to speak and write, behavior control. So of course, as I said, it's the dominant part of the brain, man. The major things, like decisions, personality, behavior control. These are essential things for just operating, for day-to-day life as well. So it says in the parietal region, it says sensations, pain, touch, temperature, understanding and interpreting sensory information such as size, color, and shape, understanding space and distance, math calculations. Occipital, it says vision, interpreting what you see. Cerebellum, balance, motor movement, coordination. Posture, fine motor skills. Brainstem, breathing, heart rate control, consciousness, alertness, wakefulness, swallowing, blood pressure, sweating, and finally temporal, which is the ability to understand language, hearing, memory, long-term storage of memories, organization, and planning, behavior, and emotion. So again, man, Esau's gonna have Esau desires control. He wants to be like the Most High, as we've established several times really within the scriptures. Isaiah 14:14 supports that. But the point that I'm trying to make with this image is that for different regions, Esau has an implant that will be used for each region, man. And that could be to one's, well, considering Esau's wicked nature, it will be to one's a person's detriment as well. See, by appearance, it'll be like, oh, it's an upgrade. You want to be a cyborg. No. It'll be to one's detriment. All you gotta do is just watch some Black Mirror episodes, and then you're gonna see why. Especially the ones that are, based on a futuristic or near futuristic society. Especially that one there where I don't know if it's season 1 or 2. I believe season 2, probably season 2. When the guy had there was an implant in the guy, and his wife, I believe his wife or girlfriend, also had a chip. They both had chips, but the things with the chip, the new level of security before travel, they had to see what you've seen in the past 24 hours before you can board, get on board the plane, essentially. So that's a whole new level of security. What you see has to be reported to, the higher ups. I say the higher ups, but the security individuals, security team, before taking the flight. And that was just a whole level of chaos, man. The man then realized that his woman cheated on him. And he told her to, show him the clips, man, of her cheating on the man. Some of you probably know what I'm talking about, but I believe it's season 2. I forgot the episode name. But stuff like that, man, as I said, it will be to a person's detriment. Anyways, back to this. Sometimes I go on a tangent.
Launching a program to enable someone who lost their voice talk again, hear again. 25mm hole in the skull and then expose the brain. It talks about how someone gets a Neuralink. Couple different steps, but first we have a surgeon, human neurosurgeon, which hopefully the robot will do this portion of it as well. But at the moment, we have a human neurosurgeon that exposes the brain. So they drill a 25 millimeter hole in the skull and then expose the brain. And then the robot has this tiny needle. It's about the size of red blood cells, so really, really tiny, thinner than a human hair, inside this cannula. And this cannula is actuated by precision motors on the robot to engage with this thread loop to grasp it. And then you insert it into the brain 128 times. There's a total of 8 electrodes per thread, so total of 1,000 channels. And this is done while avoiding vasculature. And then once all the threads are inserted, implant basically replaces this hole, and then you put the skin flap over, everything is invisible, and you become a cyborg. So what makes this challenging? So this video is a video about a real brain, and 2 things that you will notice. One, it moves a lot, and it's also highly vascularized. And if you poke a brain, it feels like a tofu or like a jello. So now the question is, okay, how do you insert safely into this moving, vascularizing, soft thing? So we built this robot to deal. I'm not can give you all 20. So what are the improvements that we need to make? Speed and reliability. So I'll play this clip. The clip on the left is our current version of the robot that's been used for 13 humans with Neuralink. And by the time this is inserting 1 thread, just over an hour.
Point is they're just improving the speed of installation. I believe the guy said they wanted it. Let me play Yaris as well, just to see if he actually says it here.
And there's huge amount of challenges and benefit of having it be a shorter surgery. And then there's also, at the moment, we send a bunch of our engineers to go out to the surgery and look at every move that it makes. We don't want that. We want to make sure that it becomes kind of a one-click surgery, super reliable, boring surgery. We like boring surgeries. So huge amount of challenges, as you can imagine, not just on the hardware, but on the software side. So the other improvement is improving insertion depth. So insert deeper, you get peripheral vision. That's sometimes or most likely more useful than actually the foveal vision that has a very narrow field of view. So as you can imagine, huge challenges: optical, mechanical, software, co-registering, the imaging that you've done pre-op to the robot. Very, very interesting set of challenges here. Okay, now switching gears to the devices. This is what the device looks like when you blow it up. Like I said, it's about a quarter, like the size of a US quarter, 25 millimeter in diameter. And then
I believe the equivalent in the UK would be like a 2p coin, but slightly bigger, in comparison to the quarter coin, in the US.
Has this flexible, really tiny, 1,000 electrode wires that we call threads. This is really the only part that goes into the brain. The rest of the body is the. We also, just to kind of highlight.
And the guy, I don't know when he's gonna mention it. I mean, he probably mentioned it in the previous chapter, but he said he wanted it to be like just going to, what's it called? Doing a laser eye surgery, which is LASIK surgery.
Why is speed important? We want to keep the surgery time super, super short. At the moment, the end-to-end, we call parking lot to parking lot, is 4 to 5 hours for the surgery, and the robot portion of it is about an hour, just over an hour. And our long-term vision is to make this kind of like a LASIK surgery, and potentially you can get it during a lunch break, so you need to do this under 1 hour.
You see, so they want to normalize it where, you could just, LASIK surgery is just laser eye surgery in order to improve a person's eyesight. So they want to make that implant as easy as possible to get, and Yusuf's working towards that, man. He's making progress. You know, it's making progress.
Maybe you can do it awake. And there's
And that's why, you know, the likelihood of this being you know, obviously the most sides will, you know, will play out nevertheless, but 2026 is still quite a high likelihood for this to be spread out, man, for East to say, all right, people got to take it. But, you know, things will play out according to how the most side will. But what I'm really saying is that Esau's progress for this is speeding up, man. It's speeding up. So don't be surprised if 2026, you know, people, they start to spread this out, man, for people to start taking the implant.
huge amount of challenges and benefit of having it be a shorter surgery. And then there's also, at the moment, we send a bunch of our engineers.
All right, so that's that part done. Let's see if there's something else. Actually, yeah, that's pretty much the main part.
Charge.
Actually, this was a good one too.
And then, you know, digital finite state machine.
Actually, prior to that, let me bring a precept out. Prior to that, because, you know, Esau, considering his speed as well, you know, he's got a short time. So Revelation 12:12, therefore rejoice ye heavens and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. So he doesn't have much time left. That's why he's speeding up, you know, in order to be able to institute this really wicked decree to make people take this implant in order to partake in society. But nevertheless of that, you know, this is why the wisdom of the scriptures is essential, man. Let me get this. So Proverbs 9 and verse 10, the fear of the Lord Yahweh is the beginning of knowledge, of wisdom, and the knowledge of the holy is understanding. For by me thy days shall be multiplied, and the years of thy life shall be increased. It says, if thou be wise, thou shalt be wise for thyself, but if thou scornest, thou alone shall bear it. Let me read it in the NLT as well. Proverbs 9 and 10. Fear of the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, is the foundation of wisdom. Knowledge of the Holy One results in good judgment. Wisdom will multiply your days and add years to your life. If you become wise, you will be the one to benefit. And it's true, you know, because really individually, as individuals, you gotta walk this walk. And of course, you know, you're the one who's gonna have to endure through these things, man, and, you know, man up and use these scriptures so that you're guided and navigated well in this time. You know, the responsibility is on you, in other words. So if you become wise, you will be the one to benefit. If you scorn wisdom, you'll be the one to suffer. You see? You know, as the saying goes, man, you know, to each his own. But that's according to the will of Yahweh at the end of the day. You just got to pray that you're on the right side and you keep doing the righteous work that Yahweh has put within your spirit to do, if you are able to comprehend this word, of course. Alright, let's play a bit more.
Little finite state machine that looks for the spiking. You bin them into these design and then assemble our own PCBA. That's kind of the core of where the chip gets assembled on, and there's a bunch of sensors, there's additional processing that happens to enable this. And there's also, so there's a battery inside the implant that on a single charge lasts 10 hours, but you need to recharge it. So it's done inductively. There's a bunch of really innovative, crazy stuff that happened on the engineering side to make sure that you don't heat the tissue while you're charging the implant. But yeah, the charger hardware.
I hope you heard that properly. The darn implant, you gotta wirelessly charge that thing, man. And of course, as he said, you know, they've taken measures, you know, to not heat up the tissue. Now, of course, this is just to comfort people, you know, in vain, of course. But you can see how Revelation 16 and 2 comes to pass, man. Flipping charging. I mentioned before in another video based on the Neuralink implant, on how scar tissue would be created as well. And that could not even could, I would even say could, it will cause problems in the future. Scar tissue, of course, heating up stuff. When I say heating up stuff, heating up the human tissue as well. And when your mind also goes to the how can I say this? I'm gonna just say this: G5, G6. Use your mind. You get what I'm saying? The telecommunication technology. Because you had 4G before, but now you got the G5, you got the G6 coming out. You also could easily have ways, to charge the brain. In fact, let me let the guy talk. He mentioned something as well.
It's done inductively. There's a bunch of really innovative, crazy stuff that happened on the engineering side to make sure that you don't heat the tissue while you're charging the implant.
And of course, the tissue is referring to the brain, because multiple cells create tissue. Multiple biological cells create tissue. Multiple tissues create like the muscle, the membrane, or the I'ma just keep it simple and say muscle, man. Or the skin. Essentially, cells like the smallest unit. I wouldn't say the smallest unit, but like a basic unit, and then multiple cells create the tissue. And then multiple tissues tend to create the muscle, the overall organ or something. That's just based on my own little understanding from biology. But yeah, let's continue.
But yeah, the charger hardware, this is all built by us. There's two components. There's a charger base with the battery and all the electronics. There's a charging coil that you kind of hover over the implant. Most of our patients actually have it built as part of their hat. So they put on a hat and they charge. And our eventual goal is to embed it into a charging pillow. So
Imagine. People gotta be sleeping with flipping charging pillows, Damn. We already know about the effects of how wireless signals affects the brain. Even just something simple as phone calls. The thermal impact, the heat impact of phone calls when you put it near your brain. And that's why it's more advisable. Of course, it's more advisable to either put it on loudspeaker or put on some earphones, so that you can avoid that flipping effects. Of course, once in a while, if you're not on the phone all day, it shouldn't be much of a problem, because that constant phone to the ear, it has an impact on the brain. But not nevertheless, the point is that wireless signals, the constant exposure to wireless signals is it's a major problem. Do some research on that and you'll understand. But anyways, as you heard from the guy, people are gonna have hats to charge the implant. They're gonna have pillows to charge the implant as well. that could go left in many ways, man. Anyways, let me get this preset and close it out. I'll link the rest of the video there if you wanna check it out fully. Right, so because ESO's targeting disabled right now, but it will be in vain. So Job 13:4, but ye are forgers of lies, ye are all physicians of no value, man. You're gonna sell it on convenience as this is transhumanism, turning people into a cyborg. Create movies to make it look cool. By the end of the dawn day, dawn day, because it's in Esau's kingdom. But as long as you got the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushai or Hakudash, you'll be fine. And you maintain faith in Yahweh Shem Yahushai, you'll be fine, man. Now Revelation 16 and verse 2, and the first went. Let me read from verse 1, but verse 2 is the key part. Revelation 16:1, and I heard a great voice out of the temple saying to 7 angels, go your ways and pour out the vials of the wrath of the Most High upon the earth. Now the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore. Grievous meaning painful, noisome meaning smelly. Upon the men which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worshipped his image. So of course, you can liken the noisome and grievous sore as cancerous wounds. some tumors that's going to be in the brain, man. So imagine a person had multiple implants on their brain. The impact is going to be flipping clear. Anyways, probably result to hair loss because of all that flipping wireless signals to the brain. That could be an indicator too. That'll probably be the early indicators. Flipping, what's that word? Pus or something? That not mucus, but that I don't know. When someone gets like a burn and then after it's like there's some kind of a liquid under it. I believe it's called pus, but the point is, there's gonna be some irritating sights from those who took the MOTB, man. That's why we gotta pray for strength from Yahweh Shem Yahushai, and of course meditate upon these precepts diligently, so that when the time comes, it's the case of we already stand with Yahweh Shem Yahushai and there's no swaying us, man. That's the point. And that's why prayer is essential. When really day by day, to Yahweh Shem Yahushai, pray without ceasing, because we need Yahweh Shem Yahushai. But as we believe and as we have faith, as we pray, as we study, as we do these works, Revelation 3:9, He will keep us from the hour of temptation. I believe it's 3:9 or 3:10. It should be here somewhere. Hold on. Alright, I'm gonna just search it quickly and then I'll end it off there. So Revelation 3, actually it's 3:10. Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. So we believe Yahweh will defend us in that time. We stand strong and we'll be fine. As the scripture says in Job 5, no evil shall come to thee. Hold on, I believe it's Job 5 and verse 19 or something. So Job 5 and 19, He shall deliver thee in 6 troubles, yea, in 7 there shall no evil touch thee. I'm going to end off there. Yaratazar, I'll link it in the description. Shalom, and Yahweh Shem Yahushai, Barakatah.